right, I'm Brother of Havoc over here with Den Mail. Today we're going to be talking about Dust 514 and the war barges coming up in the update on Tuesday, February 3rd. Specifically, the war barges are brand new. I mean, they're coming in, and honestly, I'm a little worried about what they're going to mean for Dust.
Warlords, man. It's like a new expansion pack almost a year after everyone called it dead.
Yeah. And they're going to be introducing what they call level 1 war barges. These things are going to be upgradable, and they're going to each have what's called war barge platforms that are going to be unlocked every time you upgrade them. Or maybe I don't know if it's you upgrade them or what, but it says here each upgrade will unlock additional war barge platforms and their built-in war barge subsystems.
I'm expecting new war barges, if they do have new war barges, to be come out after a long while.
Yeah, it actually begs the question: what war barge do you think they're going to come out with? Do you think they'll come out with one for each race, or do you think they're going to come out with only one?
I'm looking at the screenshot here, and I'm getting kind of a Caldari, maybe an ORE vibe.
I really wish they could have gone with like a Mimitar and a Mar. It was like,
yeah.
You're not going to give us a Mar or Mimitar vehicles, but you might as well give us the fucking war barge, right?
Yeah, especially since lore-wise, the planetary conquests are within Mimitar space. Molten Heath is inside Mimitar space.
Yeah, that, or you could say that it could be a Mar, because the Amar technically started the whole Dust 514 Immortal clone packs.
Yeah, I'll give it to them.
Well, according to lore, the Amar were the first ones to discover the ancient clones and begin the immortal cloning process for the Dust.
Yeah, those poor sleeper bastards.
Yeah, those poor sleeper bastards. But anyway, so specifically the war barge is going to have what looks like a maximum of 14 slots. And you might want to... I don't know if you want to save any slots or not. I don't know if you can delete them. But if you can delete them, I would say, hell yeah. Go ahead and upgrade as many as possible, because eventually there's going to be another update. According to the Dust 514 forum post by CCP Ratati, right now they're releasing... Yes, right now they're releasing Phase 1 of the Merc War Barge, but there's going to be a grand total of 4 phases. The first one's going to be basically just some components and upgrades. Okay. The second one will be additional upgrades, and the third one's going to be called the War Barge Flotilla, or the Corporation War Barge, which will actually have the mobile factories and mission networks and clone vats. You can generate clone packs from the clone vats inside the MCC. The mission.
I'm not going to lie, I creamed myself a little bit when they said corp missions.
Yeah. And the mission network, corporate missions are available to all corp members with higher rewards and possibly some earned activity points that are needed for flotilla actions. Okay. Now, what that means, I have no fucking clue. Nick, speculations?
Well, what I'm hoping for is, old corp missions coming back, which were essentially done away with when PC was instituted.
Yeah, well, they were done away before Faction even came out.
Old corp missions were basically... you, your squad, and whoever else wanted to. There was this corp mission that was available in the mission screen, and you would be able to buy your way into it when it became available. And basically, it was like you could choose. It was almost like a custom mission where you could go against. You had to put up X amount of money in order to buy into it, and then it was like a winner-take-all fight, and it was just a completely different thing. We had fun with it when it was available, and I hope that's exactly what we're getting with this.
Yeah, but also you have to look into one of the major things that I'm really looking forward to is Phase 2 of the Merc War Barge. I know Phase 1's coming out, and we've already seen it, but it's got some decent things. I mean, the mobile factory generates war barge components, which allows you to build more war barge upgrades. The market network will generate more ISK per match or on a regular basis. I'm not sure how that works. The battle statistics center will increase SP payout during matches. And then you got the augmented ammunition facility, which boosts primary weapon damage by 1% is supposedly what they're looking at.
Now,
you also have the armory, which increases the number of fittings I don't know what that means, actually. And the experimental laboratory, which is supposed to give you a random number of weapons and officer stuff with some new experimental weapons.
Now, what I'm looking at this for Phase 1, if we can just stay on Phase 1 for a minute.
Sure.
Okay, what I'm looking at for Phase 1 is that essentially your war barge is going to dictate like your end-of-match payouts.
Yeah, at least for temporarily.
The Battle Statistics Center is going to be some sort of computer that lets you boost SP. I'm thinking you're going to be able to buy modules for the war barge and plug them in. And depending on what modules you have plugged in, they're kind of like perks. I'm guessing like there'll be a good way to describe it.
I kind of hope, at least initially, they have a maximum of one each. Because, you know, especially if they don't have the ability to remove or degrade, I guess you could say, you know, that way you don't have just like a bunch of people going with the what's it called, the augmented ammunition facility, trying to get like 14% buff to all your primary weapons, and then realize that just sucks because diminishing returns or whatever.
No, and then, I just get paranoid as hell whenever I hear something about like a damage buff, a blanket damage buff.
Yeah, they haven't actually said if it's going to have a decreasing efficiency. They haven't said if there's going to be a stacking penalty for that kind of thing yet. And I'm a little worried that they're not going to have one.
I would have no problems if that just governed like whatever your personal war barge strike would be. I would have no issue with that. But if it like increases like your AR damage or your scrambler rifle damage, then you know it's like, does that stack with your damage mods on your suit or your commando bonus?
Yeah, plus your commando bonus, your damage mods, plus your proficiencies, and then you also going to have this. That's going to be major buffs for commandos.
That is just, which means it's going to be a major nerf for commandos after about a month or two of getting stomped by nothing but Commando 514.
Well, you don't know. They've been pretty good. They were like, you know, like within a week or two, it was becoming a serious issue, and they started patching some things to nerf things.
For what?
Some of the pistols.
Oh yeah. They've stepped up with their game.
They've definitely stepped up. I have to either thank CCP Ratati for that, or whoever got brought over to the Dust portion of CCP Games, because they have done a phenomenal job with working with what they have and fixing the game up as much as possible. Yeah. But okay, so after Phase 1 of the Merc Warbarge, which is coming out this week, and it sounds awesome. I have a little bit of fear mixed in with a lot of excitement, and I'm really glad to see whole new brand content that's going to be fantastic to see.
What do you think about the backstory as far as the Warbarges go? Like how they explained that?
I don't actually know the backstory.
Okay, well the backstory, as far as I understand it, is that in first of all there was it Chromosome?
I don't know.
It was the beta was Chromosome, and then in that we were, the mercenaries were actual super soldiers for each of the empires, and then during Uprising, they became a major force within the EVE Online universe.
Yeah, they started. That was the whole thing. They started taking over districts and whatever. They started actually taking land grabs and having huge impacts on faction warfare, which really pissed off some EVE players.
And it all started with the battle for Caldari Prime, which
I still fucking I wish someone.
I can't believe.
Not only did we miss that, but I wish someone had posted videos about
that. They did. You can find them. I'll show them to you later if you want. But
sure.
They were just. It was.
I also have to put one. I'll have to put a link in the description of this video as well.
Yeah, and it was just what it was there was a Leviathan, and it like broke apart and fell down. And you remember Manus Peak?
Yeah.
Well, the weird looking rock shards were actually originally just like like wreckage from the Leviathan that was just like burning and like falling down and everything. And it was linked up. It was a huge event. And what it was it was only available to people who were at the Fan Fest that year, I think.
Oh.
So yeah, we had no chance to get involved in that anyway. But it's like I would love them to do another event of that nature. But anyway, like going back, so in Uprising there was the Caldari Prime event, and then the Uprising occurred, and now Dust Mercenaries were essentially taking over Molten Heath. And in Warlords, what it is we each say nuts to that, I am going completely independent.
Yeah, according to the patch notes here, the uprising is over. Powerful mercenary captains dominate whole planets as warlords, taking to orbit in makeshift or stolen war barges, waging perpetual war in Molten Heaths. You are one of these warlords or aspire to become one.
So basically, the war barge we're getting, the backstory is going to be our characters, our individual personal characters that we're playing in as Dust 514. Jack that. We GTA'd that shit.
Yeah, I love that idea. But that also, if you look at the description of that at the top of the Dust patch notes, you know, you are one of these warlords or aspire to become one. That begs the question: are they going to give every mercenary a war barge? I mean, it says all mercenaries will be granted access to a level 1 war barge. But does that mean that they're going to have something that you can become more powerful than others? Something more rarer, like maybe a experimental war barge, or even reduce the number of war barges other people can have, so that some few can like reign supreme over everyone else?
Well, I don't know. It's like if you look down at the screenshot, down further, but it says war barge level 5, as if that's a skill or whatever.
Well, it does say say all mercenaries will be granted access to a level 1 war barge, which means that the war barge screenshot we see on the patch notes may not actually be the war barge everyone's going to get. In other words, you may actually it says next level 6 too, so there may actually be something more. So you may actually have it so that eventually, oh wait a minute. Oh, okay, no, I'm sorry. This is messed up. Every upgrade you put on the war barge will increase its level by 1. I think.
Well, I think they're going to introduce new drops called war barge components, which I think I remember hearing that.
I don't know if they're going to introduce new drops, but they're definitely going to be introducing that as a construction. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, they are. They're going to be, yes, another after battle market or salvage thing.
Right.
But there's also going to be the mobile factory, which will produce construction components on its own, which allows you to build other war barge upgrades.
Yeah, and also,
I just want to say one more thing. If you look at that, if you look at the picture itself, I'm glad CCP has finally realized that players want to see more information. It says skill point bonus, war barge components constructed, experimental gear, ISK bonus, primary weapon boost. It shows you exactly what everything is going to be boosted.
Look, for those of you who aren't former EVE players, EVE Online has a strong tradition of being it's been called spreadsheets in space, and the fans of EVE Online absolutely love it for that.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much data to go over, so much data to crunch, and if you can operate a spreadsheet, you are pretty much, you know, going to be raking in the dough if you can. Well, maybe that's a bit much, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a lot of luck in EVE as well, so you got to think about that.
Yeah, but also one other thing is like the major controversial thing about this is the cloning facilities, the war barge cloning facilities.
Yeah.
But
that's not, if you look at the okay, so we're also looking at the Dust 514 forums, specifically development discussion archives, and it's called Feedback War Barge Designs. Now, that whole clone process thing will not come into it until phase 2 or 3. It's phase 2 or 3. And essentially, it won't be coming for quite a while.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. It won't be happening anytime soon.
Right. What they want to do is to find a way to encourage more of the regular players to want to participate in Planetary Conquest. Honestly, is like Planetary Conquest. It kind of comes and goes, interest lags, and then comes back eventually.
Usually, it depends on how many districts one group is willing to try to take over.
And this is kind of a way for CCP to sort of encourage more participation in Planetary Conquest.
One thing that's definitely gonna encourage more participation in Planetary Conquest is that Phase 4, the Space Elevator. Ability to claim unique resources from districts owned and more. Meaning, you could actually be producing weaponry on the ground and then sending it up to your war barge for you to use in any battle you want.
Now this is everything except for outside of the Warlords 1.0 is just speculation at this point. It's very preliminary, extremely preliminary, with a big old asterisk.
But I'm excited.
Look, this could be. I mean, you look at the history of computers in general, and you find that every new thing that came out died on the vine without being utilized, or just became, part of the background noise, except for the things that were labeled as the killer app. The one thing that sets this apart and says that this is what it's different. This is the characteristic of this game that sets it apart from all other things. And it's like the Dust Eve link has been kind of, there, but honestly, guys, a little disappointing. I would love to see more of it, and this is like a first step in that more. And I love them that it's like no more scheduled content updates for 2014, and it's like 2015 rolls around and bam, full named expansion, Warlords 1.0.
But 2014 did have a bunch of content releases too.
Yeah, new Caldari maps that we loved at. You loved at first, didn't you?
At first.
Eventually, though,
at first.
Yeah.
But one more thing. I think we're pretty much done with this discussion. But one more thing. If on Tuesday when the update comes out, if you cannot remove your upgrades, I suggest holding a few spaces for the next update, because there are 5 things in the next planned what they're looking at, the next phase they're looking at. There are 5 things. The salvage drone bay, which you will earn more salvage after every battle. Reprocessing plants turn gears into nanites. Now that means that if you had any extra pileup of weaponry, if you salvaged a bunch of things that you couldn't use, rather than selling them for like 15% of their actual worth, you could possibly return them to actually turn them into nanites, and later on be able to build stuff.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the experimental weapons.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second too, but let me finish this. So also the next thing you can look into is augmented armaments facility. An in-game bonus. It doesn't say specifically what kind of bonus, but if you're looking at the current augmented ammunition facility, that gives a bonus of 1% buff to damage. The augmented armaments facility might give some sort of fire rate, range bonus, stability bonus for sniper rifles maybe, extra ammunition, or you could just blanket increase the clip size of weaponry. Say like a 1 or 2% bonus to clip size.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like this is just like so revolutionary. I don't know how to comprehend this just off of reading it.
Yeah, and okay, you also have the focused laboratory. Create specific weapons using nanites and components, which means that from that reprocessing plant, you can then go to the focused laboratory and create, say, like I had 200 militia weapons. I could reprocess those and probably generate like 20 prototype weapons.
Then dare I say it, this is like an indication that they are definitely getting ready for market.
Yes. Now, one thing as well, I want to keep this in mind. When that comes out, I would recommend everyone try some reprocessing, turn stuff into nanites, and then go to the focus laboratory and see how much it costs to, say, scrap militia or basic and turn it into prototypes. Because unless CCP is careful, this could be a cheap and dirty way of getting a bunch of really expensive gear for cheap.
And please, don't scrap your Thales.
Yeah, don't scrap your
Thales.
Do not scrap your officer class
Don't sell
weapons.
your Thales.
If you are in the Smart Deploy Alliance, specifically in the Planet Express or Smart Crew, do not sell any of your officer class gear, because this right here is a big hint. This update is a big hint about player-to-player market, or at the very least, player-to-player trading. So, I'll be willing to buy Thales at $1 million ISK a piece. Save your Thales, okay? Just throwing it out there. And before we move on to the experimental weaponry, one last thing that they're planning for the Phase 2. the Code Research Center War Barge upgrade. This will generate hacked keys that you will then be able to use to unlock all of those storage boxes we're getting after every match. I personally have several hundred, and I'm annoyed every time I see that little warning thing say I can do something.
Well, you know, Team Fortress did it.
Yeah, Team Fortress did it. Anyway, okay, so now going on to the the experimental laboratory creates a random number of weapons up to officer, but also new experimental weapons. Meta level 9, better than proto, and need level 5 primary weapon skills.
Yeah.
These things will possibly become the most hated weapons in the game. The second you need a weapon that says it needs level 5 primary weapon skills, now I don't know if that means like you need the proficiency level 5, I don't know if that means you need the operation, or hell, a blanket buff to everything. What if you need level 5 for every skill in order to use these weapons? What kind of weapon would that be? It would be dangerous. It'd be lethal. It'll be destructive. It'll be game destroying.
Like it might require operating proficiency level 5 to use, and it's plus the armory bonus on the war barge, plus commando, plus.
Here's the thing: you don't actually need to spend any ISK to get these.
Well,
they'll be generated randomly.
Yeah, but here's the other thing: you don't need to pay Aurum for them either.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's it's Dust, in all honesty, as far as I'm concerned, and this is up to everyone, but Dust has really been kind of good about the whole skirting the whole pay to win. I don't even want to say that phrase because it's not, I don't feel that applies to Dust in any way, shape, or form. Because it's like, yeah, you can buy the boosters, but it's like, oh, you can get them to level 5 faster, and then it's like, yeah, it's, you can only increase it so much, and someone who's just plays longer will, you know, be able to have the same stats that you will. And it's just, I mean, it's just, the Aurum factor is something, you know, you have to watch out for in any free-to-play game.
Yeah. All right, but I think that's about it. It's going to be, also one more thing about it, it's going to be represented as a new screen on your Neocom. Essentially, it's just going to be another menu option, but that's no problem. I kind of liked it. I don't really care to see the Merc Quarters just appear because it's the Merc Quarters. We're so used to it by now.
Yeah, and it's like there's still that hint that they might open the door one day, but they're not going to.
They're not going to.
They haven't opened the door for Eve, and I am really personally a little excited to see like the ability to give players different modules that might be able to tweak the end of match rewards in the way that they want them.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. A little thing that a little birdie told me that in other words, I read it somewhere in the forums, and I don't remember where it is, but eventually they'll have it so that depending on depending on whether or not you're a new player or not, you might actually have to get all your SP in the future strictly from how well you gather your war points.
Yep, but that'll be a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
All right, so this has been BrotherofHavok and Den Mail. We'll hope to see you in the next one.
And I just want to ask, is there really ever a time when we could say that we've had enough DACA? I mean, sure, you have DACA from the ARs, DACA from the CRs, DACA from the HMGs and SMGs and all the other guns, but is that really enough? Can't we all just have even more DACA in our lives?
Can we have Boom Shakalaka?
Or even some Boom Shakalaka.
Boom Shakalaka.
But I prefer the DACA personally, but to each his own.
You're an idiot. All right, stop recording.
Are we going to be in the videos?
Possibly if you're in my squad.
Paradox 1. Have 15 players who are not in your corp.